And then they had a practice. Nice pass inside.
With her first dunk.
Under 6 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Griner.
Here's Griner going in.
She was 6'9" more tall by the time she was 15, with a booming voice and a walk unlike anyone else's. She was called freakish, a monster, and not like a woman. Years later, Brittney Griner silenced those who once scorned her. Griner became the most notorious center in the WNBA. She was the fastest player to reach 500 blocks. She was an 11-time All-Star, won 3 Olympic gold medals, and achieved a host of other incredible feats. However, instead of receiving accolades, she ended up in prison in another country just for carrying a vape oil cartridge. She was held in solitary confinement for nearly a year. No one was sure if she'd survive and return. Yet, when the prison doors opened, she not only walked back to America, she also walked onto the Met Gala red carpet, released a nationally best-selling memoir, signed a multi-million-dollar contract, and became a mother. This isn't just a story about an athlete. This is the journey of a woman once cast aside by the world, who then single-handedly rebuilt her place in it. What helped her get back on her feet? And what kind of terrifying hidden power and wealth does someone like Brittney Griner possess now? Let's now delve into the life beyond the spotlight of one of the greatest female basketball players in the WNBA, Brittney Griner. The girl who looked like a boy. Brittney Yvette Griner was born on October 18, 1990, in Houston, Texas, as the youngest of 4 children. Brittney grew up in a rather disciplined household. Her father, Raymond Griner, was a Vietnam veteran who later became a deputy sheriff in Harris County. Her mother, Sandra, was a gentle woman who always took care of every meal and every piece of clothing for the family. In that family, everyone was busy in their own way. And Brittney, a tall girl with a quiet personality, often felt like she was standing outside that circle. From a very young age, Brittney was different. She was taller than her friends, had a deep voice, and her dressing style wasn't like other girls her age. At school, she was often teased for her unfeminine appearance, sometimes asked uncomfortable questions like, "Are you a boy?" But instead of responding or complaining, Brittney chose silence. She didn't chase praise, nor was she swayed by criticism. She spent time after school dribbling a ball alone on the court, teaching herself how to jump high, dribble, and shoot day after day. Her father didn't say much, but he observed. Once, he gave her a small notebook filled with military training principles, saying, "If you want to be strong, learn discipline." Brittney followed his advice, waking up early to run and train on her own schedule without anyone forcing her. It was from those quiet mornings that she began to form a habit, unostentatious, unassuming, simply putting in effort every day. Her first friend wasn't a person, but an old basketball her mother bought at a flea market. It was a small gift, but for Brittney, it was like a door opening to her own world where she could be herself, without judgment or ridicule. Her high school years at Nimitz High School were not easy. The 6'3" girl was still quiet and clumsy, but instead of avoiding it, Brittney trained with the boys' basketball team to build strength, technique, and agility. She wasn't one to talk much, but when she stepped onto the court, all words gave way to action. Brittney Griner was once a child unlike anyone else, and no one expected anything special from her. But it was precisely from those differences that she began to build her own unique journey, not just to step onto the court, but to prove that you don't have to be like anyone else to be extraordinary. And that was just the first chapter of her story. A rare talent in history. Brittney Griner entered college in 2009 with a full scholarship to Baylor University, a top-tier women's basketball program in the U.S., from her freshman year. She made headlines by becoming the first female athlete in NCAA history to record consecutive dunks in 2 games, something once considered unthinkable at the women's level. In the 2012 season, She and the Baylor team completed a remarkable feat: 40 wins, 0 losses, winning the national championship. That achievement has yet to be replicated. Brittney was honored with a series of prestigious individual awards: AP Player of the Year, Naismith Wooden Award, and, more importantly, the recognition that she was not just different, but one of the rarest talents in women's basketball history. In 2013, she was selected by the Phoenix Mercury as the first overall pick in the NBA draft. That marked the beginning of a professional career that spanned over a decade, where Griner was not just a center, but an icon. She won the WNBA championship in 2014, was selected to the All-Star team 11 times, and won 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards at 6'9" with an airplane wingspan. She broke the WNBA record with 812 blocks as of 2024, ranking 3rd all-time. In one playoff game, she recorded an astounding 11 blocks, a number no one else has reached. And let's not forget, she is the female player with the most dunks in WNBA history. Not content with playing only at home, Griner also represented the U.S. national team and won 3 consecutive Olympic gold medals: Rio 2016, Tokyo 2020, and Paris 2024. She also brought home 2 FIBA World Cup gold medals and contributed to the U.S. women's team's near-absolute dominance. But that journey wasn't smooth. In 2022, while traveling to Russia to play in the off-season, Brittney was arrested at a Moscow airport for possessing a vape oil cartridge containing cannabis, a banned substance in Russia. She was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Her story became an international focal point. Many who had previously disparaged her suddenly spoke out in support, and after nearly a year of detention, she was released through a prisoner exchange between the 2 countries. The image of Brittney standing on the WNBA court during her first game back, tears streaming down her face, the audience rising to their feet in applause, was one of the most emotional moments in sports in 2023. Griner continued to play for the Phoenix Mercury before moving to the Atlanta Dream in 2025, opening a new chapter. She signed a 1-year contract not for lack of options, but to challenge herself in a different environment where she could take on a leadership role and help build a young team into a championship contender. From her first shots in her Houston backyard to evenings at the Olympics watched by millions, Brittney Griner's career is clear proof that sometimes what you were criticized for as a child is exactly what makes you great later in life. And she's not done yet. In the coming years, it may no longer be a game of brute strength, but a journey of conquering with courage and conviction. Enjoying life like an NBA star. In the world of sports, wealth is often measured by the number of beachfront villas, multi-million-dollar watch collections, or private jet travels. And for Brittney Griner, she not only possesses all of these things, but also knows how to turn them into her personal hallmark: classy, distinctive, and unmistakable. She lives in luxury, but it's a kind of luxury with depth where everything is carefully chosen, reflecting her true self: strong, independent, and full of character. As of 2025, Griner's estimated net worth is around $5 million USD, a figure that may seem modest compared to NBA superstars, but places her among the highest-earning female athletes in the WNBA. This number reflects a journey of incredible perseverance from a basic salary of only about $150,000 with the Phoenix Mercury, to endorsement deals with brands like Nike, Beats by Dre, and Adidas. Notably, Griner used to play basketball in China and Russia during each offseason, earning an average of $800,000 to $1,000 USD per season, many times her domestic salary. In Phoenix, Arizona, where she spent many years playing for the Mercury, Griner once owned a nearly 3,000 skept home located in the Desert Ridge area, built in 2018. She bought this house for approximately $475,000 USD, and by 2025, according to Zillow data, Its market value had exceeded $900,000 used. The interior of the house accurately reflects Griner's personality: practical, introverted, and thoughtful. There was no spa or saltwater pool, but it featured a dedicated soundproof room where her wife, Sherelle, a lawyer, could work, and where Griner herself would sit at her digital piano, writing freestyle raps as a form of therapy after each stressful season. However, the most special home in Griner's real estate portfolio is located in Houston, Texas, where she was born and raised. In 2021, Griner reportedly acquired a mansion in the Memorial Villages area from a local R&B artist for nearly $4 million USD. This mansion spans approximately 4,000 square feet, notable for its understated modernism architectural style. Griner eschewed marble and floor-to-ceiling glass, opting instead for natural oak wood, indirect lighting systems, and smart thermostats for each zone to save energy. Every detail was personalized, from the reading chair placed by the window overlooking the garden to a specially designed meditation room where she spent time after her detention in Russia to regain balance. Unlike many American athletes who love to show off garages full of Lamborghinis or Rolls-Royces on social media, Brittney Griner chooses cars for purpose, not for the spotlight. Her most frequently used vehicle is a Range Rover Autobiography, costing around $140,000 USD, a choice that is both luxurious and powerful. Fitting her 6'9" height, the interior is customized with an extended roofline, and the driver's seat has an adjustable lift function higher than standard, suited for Griner's unique physique. Additionally, Griner owns an Audi e-tron, an electric SUV valued at over $70,000 USD, which she chose after returning from Russia as a statement towards sustainable living and environmental responsibility. This is the car she primarily uses for community activities and attending events with the charity she founded to help young women in the LGBTQ+ community. A special item in her collection is a customized off-road Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, valued at approximately $50,000 USD, equipped with a protective frame, winch, and even satellite navigation specifically used for charity trips to remote areas in Arizona and New Mexico, where Griner has often distributed necessities and awarded scholarships directly to indigenous children. She has also been seen driving a Mercedes-Benz G-Class G-Wagon, an iconic SUV owned by many famous rappers like Drake and Travis Scott. However, it's unknown whether it's her own car or borrowed from a close friend in the Houston art scene. The total estimated value of Griner's car collection is approximately $300,000 to $350,000 USD. However, none of these vehicles are meaningless. Each model was chosen based on specific needs: training, work, travel in harsh climates, or charitable activities. And when someone who was detained for 294 days in a Russian prison where there was no hot water, no privacy, can still return, buy a home in her birthplace, drive the car she chose for her own reasons, and live true to her values, it's clear that wealth here isn't about the most expensive things, but about who truly drives their own life. A love that overcame all prejudices. In basketball, there are games destined to change careers, but in life, there are people who come and change the way we see the world. For Brittney Griner, love didn't follow a romantic script, nor did it fit a mold. It came in its own way, complex, challenging, yet so profound that nothing could replace it. In 2015, Brittney married teammate Glory Johnson, a relationship once hailed by the media as the WNBA's golden marriage. But within weeks, everything fell apart. The two were arrested for a domestic dispute just days before their wedding. After a hurried wedding in Phoenix, Glory announced she was pregnant with twins, and Brittney immediately filed for an annulment. Disputes over custody, financial support, and endless speculation plunged Griner into crisis. It seemed as if no one would be patient enough to touch those wounds again until Sherelle appeared. They knew each other from their time at Baylor University, but only as friends. It wasn't until 2016 when Griner began healing from past traumas that both opened up. Their relationship wasn't built on glamorous parties or luxurious trips, but on very small things. A call at the right moment, a text message early in the morning. A time when Sherelle quietly waited after a triple overtime game. In 2018, Griner proposed, and in June 2019 they married in a cozy ceremony in Las Vegas, witnessed by family and a few close friends. But the biggest challenge still lay ahead. In February 2022, Brittney was arrested at a Russian airport for possessing vape oil. When the news spread, Sherelle became a reluctant spokesperson, but she didn't back down. She constantly lobbied the U.S. government, appeared on television, met with lawmakers, and tirelessly pressured the media to bring Brittney home. Throughout Griner's 10-month detention, Sherelle wrote her over 300 letters, each line a beacon of light that kept her strong. On the day Brittney returned to the U.S. in December 2022, the image of the two embracing on the tarmac in the cold night, without a spotlight, silenced all of America. Since then, they no longer need to prove anything. Together, they built a home in Atlanta, appeared at events like the Met Gala, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and released her autobiography, Coming Home. Even more special, in July 2024, they welcomed their first son, baby Bash, born healthy, after a nearly 2-year IVF journey. Their love, one who once lost everything and one who always stayed, is proof that no matter how many storms, patience, sincerity, and faith are still enough to write a new chapter. And in that chapter, Brittney Griner is not just a WNBA athlete. She is a wife, a mother, a person who has gone through trauma and chose to love again, this time with all her heart. 300 days of suffering in a prison cell. If Brittney Griner's career were a novel, the chapter titled Scandal wouldn't just be a transition, it would be a trial by fire. It was a time when her reputation, ideals, and even her character were weighed in the court of public opinion. And, in many cases, her towering 6'9" body, the very strength that allowed her to dominate the WNBA, became the easiest target for criticism. In April 2015, just weeks before her wedding to Glory Johnson, Brittney and Johnson were arrested at their home for a physical altercation. Police noted minor injuries on both. The incident shocked the sports community, not only because of the violence, but also because both were rare openly gay public figures in the WNBA at the time. The result, she was suspended for 7 games by the WNBA, lost endorsement deals with several small brands, and her image as a gender equality hero was severely shaken. But that was still not the darkest chapter. In February 2022, during an off-season trip to Russia to play a common practice for American female athletes to earn extra income, Griner was arrested at Sheremetyevo Airport for possessing a vape oil cartridge containing cannabis oil. Under Russian law, this is a banned substance. Griner was sentenced to 9 years in prison and for nearly 300 days of detention. She became a political focal point for 2 superpowers, Russia and the United States. Some argued she was a hostage in a cold diplomatic war. Others turned their backs, saying, "She's an athlete. How could she be so stupid?" Back home, many conflicting opinions emerged. Some conservative figures attacked her with racist, sexist, and homophobic rhetoric. People dug up her old statements, scrutinized her private life, and even questioned, is it worth trading her for a notorious Russian arms dealer? But there were also those who didn't give up. Her wife Sherelle appeared on CNN, The View, and various political programs, demanding justice. And in December 2022, after a world-shaking prisoner exchange, Brittney Griner set foot back in the United States. She didn't say much. She simply asked to breathe freely and walked into the arena to an overwhelming welcome from the entire WNBA. It was thought that all controversies would subside then. But in May 2025, during a game between the Atlanta Dream and the Indiana Fever, Griner became embroiled in a new controversy after being ejected from the game. Cameras caught a moment where she said something that sounded like, "fucking white girl," while Caitlin Clark was standing nearby. The video went viral. Hashtags #ban Griner, thus WNBA divided flooded Twitter. Some defended her, arguing she was only cursing the referee's call, "fucking whack call." Others asserted it was a reverse racial slur, something extremely sensitive in professional sports. The WNBA has yet to issue an official penalty, but the incident once again pushed Griner's name into headlines with mixed emotions, and amidst calls for boycotts, debates about privilege, and underlying racial tensions in women's sports. Brittney chose silence again, just as she did in high school when she was called weird and unlike anyone else. For Brittney Griner, scandal is not an accident. It's the price she had to pay for daring to live differently, to love differently, to succeed differently, and to speak up, even when her voice wasn't palatable to the majority. Glory is not just in titles. If you only look at the statistics, 3 Olympic gold medals, over 800 blocks, 11 All-Star selections, and a WNBA championship, you might think Brittney Griner's achievements are neatly contained on the basketball court. But for those who have followed her journey from the very beginning, from an unfamiliar name in Texas high school circles to a global icon, it's clear her greatest glory lies not in what hangs on her wall, but in what she quietly built away from the spotlight. In women's basketball, no one other than Griner holds the record for the most dunks in WNBA history with over 25, including regular season and All-Star games. She was the first to dunk in the 2021 WNBA Finals, and she was also the first to reach the 500 block milestone, the fastest in the league. She once set a record of 11 blocks in a playoff game, something no one, not even legends like Lisa Leslie, had ever done. In 2014 and 2015, she consecutively received the Defensive Player of the Year title and was selected to the All-WNBA First Team 7 times. She has played for the U.S. national team in 3 Olympic Games, Rio 2016, Tokyo 2020, and Paris 2024, winning all 3 gold medals. Additionally, Griner also brought home 2 FIBA World Cup championships with the national team 2014-2018 and was named to the All-Tournament team. But perhaps the achievement she is most proud of is not in the statistics, but in her ability to inspire and uplift marginalized communities. As early as 2015, Griner initiated the Heart and Soul Shoe Drive campaign, donating thousands of shoes to the homeless in Phoenix. Years later, the campaign expanded to Atlanta, Houston, and even cities where she played internationally. "A pair of shoes doesn't change a whole life," she once said, "but it can help someone go where they once thought they couldn't." Griner is also one of the first openly gay athletes to sign a major sponsorship deal with Nike, a symbolic decision in women's sports. She became a spokesperson for the LGBTQ+ community, not only for her sexual orientation, but also for her courage to live authentically, even when it caused people to shun her. In 2023, after being released from Russian prison, Griner chose not to remain silent or avoid public scrutiny. On the contrary, she became a representative for the Bring Our Families Home campaign, advocating for the release of U.S. citizens unlawfully detained abroad. She participated in congressional hearings, met directly with families of detainees, and spoke at the United Nations Human Rights Forum. Also that year, she and her wife attorney Cherelle Griner founded the BG32 Foundation, dedicated to providing legal and financial assistance to Black LGBTQ+ individuals who have been wrongfully convicted or cannot afford legal representation. In its first year, the foundation funded 48 cases, helping 11 people achieve acquittal or reduced sentences in the state of Georgia. In 2025, Brittney Griner was honored at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame for her contributions off the court. In April of the same year, she received the Media Trailblazer Award, recognizing her contributions to media, human rights, and social leadership. In a world where titles are often given to those who score the most points, Brittney Griner chose to make her mark by helping others stand tall. She is not just one of the greatest centers in WNBA history, but a living testament to the fact that when you overcome your own darkness, you can become a light for others, and that is truly her greatest victory in life. A bright future thanks to new policies. If there's one thing Brittney Griner understands better than anyone, it's this: life can change in an instant. So, at this point, she's no longer playing just for points or titles, she's playing because she chooses to, and that makes all the difference. In 2025, Brittney signed a one-year contract with the Atlanta Dream. That wasn't a step backward, but a deliberate decision. Instead of trying to join the strongest team, she chose a young, developing team where she could play the role of a mentor, a leader, an inspirer. She's no longer the player who scores 30 points every game, but she's the one her teammates look to when the game is at its toughest. The league is also changing. A new collective bargaining agreement will go into effect in 2026, and many believe Brittney will be one of the first athletes to benefit from the new policy, with higher salaries, better playing conditions, and more deserved benefits. Off the court, Brittney is doing more than people see. The BG32 brand she founded is no longer just a fashion label. It's now a small studio producing podcasts, documentaries, and audiobooks. Her memoir, Coming Home, is still a bestseller, and there are rumors that a film based on Griner's life is in development. But it's not a sports movie. It's about her final days in Russian detention days when she thought she might never return to the U.S. Additionally, she is also spending more time with her family. Her first son, baby Bash, just learned to say mommy. And Brittney is savoring every moment she can. She once said that she would play for another 1 or 2 years, then transition to another role, perhaps coaching, perhaps mentoring, or simply being a full-time mother. For many, legacy is measured by the number of titles, money earned, or bronze statues placed outside arenas. For Griner, she defines legacy by helping others feel like they can be themselves and still be loved. Brittney Griner isn't a perfect person. She's stumbled, been misunderstood, and lost everything, but she's never given up. From a little girl teased for being different to a WNBA star, then becoming a living symbol of resilience and freedom. Griner's journey is proof that sometimes what makes us rejected as children is precisely what makes us extraordinary as adults. And for her, the story isn't over yet, because every day, she continues to prove that living authentically is the bravest thing a person can do. We are not responsible if you misunderstand or misapply this content. Please consider, verify, and accept selectively. Like what you see, give us a like, comment, share, or subscribe. That's the fuel that keeps us telling more peak stories about other basketball superstars.